characters in the hospital. So the majority of 5 Feet Apart takes place in a hospital, and it takes place over a short period of time because our
Justin Baldoni is going straight at Blake Lively in these newly unsealed interrogatories, and you really need to hear what's in them. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I'm Andy Senior. This has been one of the most chaotic and fascinating shows we've covered recently, and today's segment is no exception. Kim is here with us on audio. Hey Kim, are you there? It's so good to hear your voice, and I also want to thank you for helping organize this part of the show while I was dealing with another round of plumbing chaos at home. But as always, the show goes on, and we're diving into some truly eye-opening material. Going through these filings honestly took me a little while to fully process, because some of the legal terminology and procedural nuances can be tricky to understand, especially when you're trying to explain it live. But it's really important that people see what's actually happening here. The judge has recently unsealed a number of motions. For anyone unfamiliar, interrogatories are formal, written questions asked as part of the discovery process in litigation. They're designed to establish key facts and compel the other party to respond officially on the record. In this case, Justin's legal team is responding on his behalf, providing detailed explanations and clarifying his position on issues that are central to the dispute. Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially, this is where he has the opportunity to formally respond to accusations and lay out the factual and legal basis for his claims. One particularly notable section is the response to interrogatory number 7. This question asks Justin's team to identify all the factual and legal basis for their contention that criticism of Blake Lively on social media during and after August 2024 was entirely organic. In other words, the interrogatory is challenging them to explain why the social media backlash both during that month and in the months following was not orchestrated or retaliatory, but instead arose naturally from public discussion and commentary. This isn't just a casual question. It's a formal legal demand that requires Justin's team to clearly document and justify their position, citing facts and context that demonstrate the criticism was spontaneous rather than coordinated. The response to this question could have significant implications, because it addresses the core of the claim about whether there was any manufactured retaliation, and it helps frame how the court may evaluate the broader allegations being made. It's a fascinating window into the legal strategies on both sides, and it really highlights the meticulous, detailed work that goes into these kinds of high-profile cases, where every word, email, and social media post is scrutinized in excruciating detail. You ready for this answer? First, Justin's team includes the usual caveats. They claim some terms are vague or ambiguous. They assert attorney-client privilege. And note, they're not waiving objections, but here's what they actually say. Colleen Hoover's highly successful novel It Ends With Us, Blake Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and the film adaptation have all been the subject of extraordinary public interest. Negative coverage of Lively began with news of her casting and continued with paparazzi photos of her character and her wardrobe, which is absolutely accurate. Her wardrobe was widely criticized online, with people comparing her looks to a homeless Carrie Bradshaw and worse. This is also addressed in the documentary, where we highlight and show some of the photos to provide context. People weren't just questioning whether she fit the character or the age, they were scrutinizing her outfits, asking, what is she wearing? This isn't Lily. As noted, Lively herself was highly involved in selecting her wardrobe, which adds an interesting layer to the criticism. The interrogatory response continues, noting that rumors of discord between Justin Baldoni, the film's lead actor and director, and Blake Lively on set intensified media interest, particularly in the period leading up to August 2024, that aligns with my own reporting, as this is when I first noticed tensions escalating and began paying closer attention. Much of the drama was fueled by Lively and certain cast members, culminating in a mass unfollowing of Justin Baldoni on social media just as the film was being released. At the time, some theorized this might be a coordinated stunt, similar to what happened with Don't Worry Darling starring Harry Styles, but few could predict how much more complex and chaotic the situation would become. This was essentially the starting point of the public drama, with Justin's absence from marketing and publicity events, combined with gossip about Lively attempting to assert control over the film, beginning to emerge in the press. That's also when Ryan Reynolds' involvement in rewriting or shaping aspects of the movie came to light, and the media began speculating, are there conflicts on set? Are the leads feuding? Naturally, the press loves drama, and this story provided plenty. The interrogatory also addresses Lively's response to public interest, noting that media coverage highlighted what they described as a poorly conceived and toned-up marketing campaign for the film, spearheaded by Lively in coordination with Maximum Effort, Ryan Reynolds' company. Criticism centered on her promotion of a film about domestic violence while simultaneously promoting her hair care and alcohol brands. One particularly controversial example was her alcohol brand sponsoring an official film promotional event and even naming a signature cocktail after the film's male leader move many considered tone-deaf, given the subject matter. Altogether, The response paints a picture of a highly publicized project entangled with personal branding, social media reactions, and behind-the-scenes conflicts that contributed to the extraordinary media attention and scrutiny surrounding Lively and the film. Blake Lively's conduct during the film's promotion raised significant issues. She conspicuously refused to take photos with or do press alongside Justin, and she excluded him from key promotional appearances, including international premieres, panel discussions, and screenings. Baldoni's team also claims that Lively orchestrated a campaign to alienate the film's cast and crew, including the mass unfollowing of Justin on social media. She reportedly failed to engage meaningfully with the film's serious subject matter, instead emphasizing levity during promotional appearances, interviews, and social media posts, while also participating in bizarre and off-putting public appearances leading up to the release. Baldoni's team further alleges that Lively fueled negative press by providing information and inflammatory text messages to the New York Times and other media outlets before filing her complaint, which should have remained private. Her strategy allegedly involved laundering private communications through the press to promote a narrative in her favor and resuscitate her public image at the expense of the Wayfair parties. While this initially stirred significant public interest and attention to her allegations, the strategy reportedly backfired once the factual basis for her claims began to unravel, revealing a less flattering picture of Lively and her associates. The responses also highlight how her legal team allegedly exploited domestic violence survivorship language and Davo tactic, attack, reverse victim and offender to intimidate critics, subpoena internet influencers, and suppress public commentary. According to Baldoni, these combined actions by Lively and her agents organically created a climate of negative sentiment toward her, prompting media outlets and social media users to dig up and circulate past unflattering content regarding her behavior. As Kim notes, reading through this material is refreshing because it provides such a clear, detailed explanation of events, contrasting sharply with the broader narrative of retaliation that Lively has promoted. It also raises an interesting question. Imagine if Blake herself had to respond directly to these claims. Given the way her team has framed the retaliation campaign, the interrogatories provide a rare structured glimpse into what Justin's team considers the factual record, highlighting behaviors and actions that have, in their view, contributed to the intense public scrutiny surrounding the film and Lively herself. How could any of this possibly have been Justin's doing? None of it was, and the fact that Lively continues to claim that it was all his responsibility makes no sense. Am I missing something here, Kim? No, Kim responds. The biggest thing I took away from this, and I want to give credit to Lauren at the Court of Random Opinion for bringing it to everyone's attention, is just how buried some of these unsealed documents were. They really flew under the radar, but it highlights the sheer scale of the subpoenas, over 100 of them, covering everything from Google to Twitter to TikTok. And what was actually found? Honestly, nothing. If there had been anything substantive, we would have seen it by now. In my opinion, this was an improper use of the system. It was bizarre to watch unfold. So bizarre, I added. Cue the music. For those of you live, get ready, this is important. The question asks Justin's team to identify, in reasonable detail, all factual and legal basis for the contention that Blake Lively has failed to mitigate her alleged damages. Essentially, they're asking, if she claims she suffered any harm, why hasn't she done anything to minimize it? Justin's response is detailed. First, he objects to the interrogatory as it presumes Lively has suffered damages, which he denies, without waiving those objections. He clearly states that Lively did not suffer any damages as a result of his or the Wayfair party's actions. To the extent any alleged damages exist, including reputational harm, Lively is identified as the proximate cause. In other words, any harm she claims, she caused herself. The response goes further. Even if Lively could show damages, she failed to mitigate them. She turned down or ignored other acting and directing opportunities and was constantly. She also declined to work on projects that would separate her from Ryan Reynolds, further limiting her own opportunities. According to Justin's team, this behavior exacerbated any alleged harm rather than minimizing it. And yes, as noted, it's a clear example of how they allegedly used their children and schedules to manipulate opportunities and force Justin and the Wayfair parties to adjust to their convenience. In short, interrogatory number 10 frames the argument that Lively's own actions, choices, and priorities, not anything Justin or Wayfair did, were the primary drivers of any reputational or professional setbacks she claims to have experienced. Literally, some of the first correspondences even involved Ryan, and they reveal a level of manipulation that's shocking in hindsight. Justin reaches out, trying to be cordial, saying things like, "Hey, can we be friends? I know this is weird. I'm going to be working with your wife, but I look up to you and I hope we're good." Ryan responds politely, "Oh yeah, thanks," and immediately uses that interaction to advance his own needs, talking about scheduling around his kids and leveraging the situation for personal convenience. It's really disturbing to see this unfold, knowing how it all eventually played out. Continuing, Justin's team asserts that Lively further harmed her own reputation starting in August 2024. This includes her tone-deaf cross-promotional efforts that linked her haircare and liquor brands to a film about domestic violence, creating an association that was widely criticized. She allegedly made provably false claims about the Wayfair parties and exploited the language of the #MeToo movement in ways that undermined her credibility with the public. Additionally, her team highlights her alleged abuse of legal tactics, including the initiation of what they describe as a sham lawsuit through a shell company Van Zandt allegedly used to launder stolen communications. They also point to her aggressive legal campaigns aimed at intimidating content creators and suppressing online criticism, as well as her use of influence to coordinate a one-sided New York Times article that furthered her narrative. And now, here's some breaking news. Popcorn Planet has officially filed an appeal with the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit of Florida. Yes, that's right, literally hot off the press. The appeal follows the court's order entered December 2nd, and all earlier rulings will be included in the record. Bam, we are not done. This is a fight we shouldn't have to fight, but we are fully committed. So, how can you help? Head over to our website, sign up today, and become a member. Scroll down to our Give Donate section, where so many generous people have already contributed. Every bit of support helps us keep this going, ensuring the documentary not only continues but grows bigger and stronger. We cannot let these forces control the narrative. We need your support now more than ever. Stay tuned, because there's so much more coming, and we are not backing down. More coming, and we are not backing down.